All right, everybody, welcome back to another episode of Capitalize on Retirement. Today, we're kind of doing a special episode on a question that we've been getting a ton of, and that question is Trump accounts. And how do I open and establish a Trump account? What is it? So that's kind of what we're going to talk about today. Brandon, you want to kind of kick us off on what a Trump account actually is?
Yeah, so, and it's funny that you say that. I've had this question almost every day, it seems like. What are these accounts? How do they operate? What are the benefits of them? And so, let's kind of jump into that. So I guess the Trump accounts are a special type of savings account and investing account for newborns. And really, they have to be born between January 1st, 2025 and December 31st of 2028.
Yep.
And so with that, these newborns are going to get a free $1,000 contribution from the government, which is great.
Tremendous. Yeah. I mean, we'll take it.
Yeah, we'll take any. Yeah, right. Exactly. So, and that $1,000 can be invested, and it's going to hopefully grow and compound over time, and that's the goal of it. So, really, there are different benefits, but every child born between those dates can get access to that $1,000 contribution. And I think everybody should take advantage of it, in my opinion.
Yep, and we've been getting a lot of the questions. The reason we wanted to do this is because we're getting a lot, well, how do I open these? And well, what's going to go into it? And how does it work? And all these different things. So we wanted to create something and kind of educate our community and our listeners on exactly how these worked. And one of the biggest things that you mentioned is the eligibility date. So any child born from January 1st, 2025 through December 31st, 2028 is eligible for a Trump account, and the government will give them $1,000 into that account. Which brings us to how does it work? How do I establish it? Right? All those questions. So,
So basically how you open it is there's two different ways. Mm-hmm. So the first way is you file a form 4547. So you can have your accountant do this. You can pull that form online. It's just one of the IRS's forms. And so when you're filing your taxes this year, or, even if you just want to send it in on a separate date, you don't have to do it when you're filing your taxes. But the child must be under 18 in the election year and must have a valid Social Security number and the accounts for the child's exclusive benefit. Yep. But you can file that form 4547, or you can actually file this form online.
Yep.
So there's actually a website. We're going to post that in the show notes. So you can click on that site and you could actually file for that online instead of doing it with that form. And so there's a couple different options there, but that if you want to go to the website, it's form.trumpaccounts.gov.
Yep. And we'll have that linked in the show notes, and anybody who receives the email, that'll be linked there. That's probably the easiest way. We've kind of piloted this a little bit, and the CPAs in the office have played with this as well. If you file it on Form 4547, excuse me, the Treasury creates the account for you, and they select the custodian, right? Meaning if it's Charles Schwab or Vanguard or whoever it is, we'll talk about the allowed investment options in a moment. But if you do it on that form, they will select your custodian, which is fine. But if you do it on the online election, you could kind of select who you're going to choose as your custodian, who you want it custody through.
Yeah. And there's still not a ton of clarity on this, but from our understanding, you file that form, somebody from the government reaches out to you with instructions on where that's going to be funded, what custodian that money will be held at.
Yep.
If you file it online, like you said, I believe the process is they still send you information on, hey, here's how you sign up, all that good stuff. So the first thing is getting that form submitted, whether it's online or the actual IRS form, and then you'll receive information back from somebody from the government.
Yeah, and it's important too, because if you had a child or grandchild born between that time frame, take advantage of it. They're going to give us a free $1,000, something that we can take advantage of. And I think with that, let's kind of talk. You hit eligibility, must be under 18, must have a Social Security, and the account is for the child's exclusive benefit.
Yeah.
But let's hit on the contribution types before age 18. So what's allowed to go in here? How is it allowed to go in? How's all of that work?
Yeah, so the government is obviously giving the first $1,000, right? That's their contribution, and then actually employers can actually contribute to these accounts, and the employer gets a tax deduction for those contributions. So the employer can contribute up to $2,500 for these accounts. Now the maximum per year is $5,000. So if the employer contributes money, that counts towards that $5,000.
Yep.
So
families are only allowed to contribute an additional $5,000 per year to these accounts.
correct.
And that's whether your employer chooses to contribute to them or not. But the employer is allowed to contribute $2,500 and receive a tax deduction for that.
Correct. And there's no earned income requirements. Like usually when you put money into an IRA or a Roth IRA, you
Yep.
have to have earned income. Well, with these accounts, you don't have to have earned income. So even grandparents who aren't really working right now, not earning income, they can still contribute to these accounts.
They
as
could
well.
still fund these accounts. That's nice.
And then, just talking about tax treatment, because we got this question, a couple times. So there's essentially, when you take money out of these accounts, they're going to be taxed, because right now when you put money in, they're going to be tax deferred.
Yep.
Until you actually start withdrawing money out. So you don't want to take withdrawals, or you can't take withdrawals until age 18 for the child. But at 18, it will be taxed like an IRA. So it's taxed as ordinary income when it comes out.
It essentially converts to a traditional IRA where we
Correct.
have the tax deferred growth, and then standard IRA withdrawal rules apply. So under 59 and a half, we have to pay a 10% penalty plus the taxes. Before 18, the tax treatment, we don't get deductions for putting the money in. Some contributions can be excluded from tax. That's not a ton of information on that yet.
Yeah.
So we could talk about that. Another episode as more information is released here.
Yeah. Yeah. And so, let's talk about investments. I mean, this is obviously going to be money that gets invested for that child. And I think that's the biggest benefit is, what is this $1,000 going to be worth in 18 years and 40 years and 60 years if it just grows and compounds over that time frame?
Yep.
So, first of all, let's talk about the investments. It's going to be low-cost U.S. index funds or ETFs only. So, that's a benefit, right?
Yeah,
It's going to be low cost.
Adding money back into our U.S. economy because you could only buy low-cost U.S. index funds. So we're talking like the Vanguard 500s of the world or, the SPY index, things like that. And they have to be domestic based. So all this money will be flooding back into.
Yeah, and the fees will be very low. So that's a really good thing, because this money is going to be growing and compounding over a long period of time. So let's talk about what these accounts could be worth. And obviously this is no guarantee.
Yeah.
But we ran simple future value calculations just to show, hey, what could these accounts be worth in 18 years when the child is 18, and then also when they're actually age 60, if they just let this account grow and compound over time.
Yeah, I think that's important. So the first one we have here, Brandon, what's that one there? So if we ran these at a 7% growth rate. So all of these assumptions are done at a 7% growth rate. And if we put $1,000 into a U.S. index fund and we earned a 7% growth rate, in 18 years, that account would be worth, Brandon, what's that going to be worth in 18?
It's a little over $3,300, so $3,379. That's what the account would be worth in 18 years.
So roughly $2,300 of interest. So the government gave us $1,000. We have this money. If we earn a 7% growth rate on it, then we would have about $3,300.
Yeah, and so, the one that really stands out to me, obviously, the longer that you're invested in the market, the more time it gives you to grow and compound.
Yep.
So that same $1,000 without putting any more money in, if we just let it grow for 60 years at a 7% growth rate, that $1,000 would be worth $57,946.
I mean, now we're talking about some money, right?
Yeah.
$1,000 turns into almost $58,000 over 60 years.
Right.
I mean, that's pretty good.
That's a huge benefit. And so, then we started to look at, well, what if we actually put $5,000 into this account?
Just max it out one time.
Max
Out.
Right. And that $5,000 over 18 years at a 7% growth rate,
that grows to $16,899.66. So you're talking almost $12,000 of interest.
Yeah, on a $5,000 investment, that's great. That's the power of letting your money grow for you over a long period.
Yep. But the really cool one is
Yeah.
is this one. If you want to hit on that one.
Yeah, so this would be ideal. If we could get $5,000 into this account, maybe you can do it for a few years.
Yeah.
And this number just gets larger and larger. But $5,000 invested without putting any more money in at a 7% growth rate over 60 years, it's projected to be worth $289,732. So that's $284,000 in interest over a 60-year period. So now you're talking about really setting up their retirement when they're first born.
Yep.
So, I know a lot of people, well, somebody actually asked us this. Maybe we read it in an article, but they said, is this the start of privatizing Social Security?
Yep.
Right? Is this what is going to be available for Social Security down the road? And I think that's an interesting concept. I do.
I think it's an interesting concept as well, because if they were to privatize Social Security, this is a way. I don't think this is going to be it, but I think this is kind of testing for how that works, right?
Yeah.
Because you're giving an 18-year-old in this case, if you put 5,000, access to almost $17,000, obviously depending on the growth rate, that could be problematic for some. But if you're responsible and you let it grow and we get the power of compounding behind us, that can grow to $300,000. I mean, almost 300,000. Like, those are big numbers.
Those are big numbers. And, say you put 3 years worth of maximum contributions in it. I mean, that could end up being a huge number on the back end. So it will be interesting to see. I mean, I think that would be maybe a more effective way of privatizing Social Security one day. I think it would be interesting. But, not many people have the discipline to wait 60 years before they touch their money. So we'll see what happens. But if it were me, I would definitely make sure that I'm letting this money grow as long as possible.
Yeah.
And just, you're basically creating a retirement fund when you're first born.
I mean, even if you do nothing and you let it grow, you're sitting on 58,000, again, assuming a 7% growth rate, but it's a lot of money. And I mean, the government's just putting that in for you, and all you have to have is patience on your side.
Yeah. So I think there's a lot of different things with these accounts. The first one is just, how do I sign up for those? And that will be in the show notes. We'll put the form that you could file, the IRS's form in there, plus the online link so that you could sign up online. If you have, maybe you're a grandparent and you're listening to this and you just had a grandchild, or maybe you are a parent and you just had your maybe a first or second child. I think it's very important to sign up for this, right? It's $3,000 regardless. So,
in my opinion, they're not going to contact anybody to do this. We have to take action. So make sure you are taking the proper steps to gain access to that.
Definitely. So, just big takeaways here. Early compounding opportunity, right? We talk about compounding in the market, letting your money grow and compound over time. This starts, very early on in someone's life. So I think that's very important.
Well, on that too, I think it also teaches discipline I think it's a good way for younger kids to kind of have an understanding of how the stock market works, right?
Definitely.
Like, you get a gauge of compounding and how it works. I know I have nieces, and I've talked to them about, hey, if we buy Apple stock, right, because they have iPads and different things like that. Eventually I'll teach Cece this, but hey, if you have an iPad and you own Apple stock, you're actually an owner of Apple. So I think just these concepts of teaching people about savings and compounding interest, I think it's a good thing there from an educational perspective.
Definitely. And, from a parent's standpoint, they're not going to get access to it until 18. So you could literally say to them when they turn 18, here's how much money was put into this account and here's what it's worth now. That's going to show the child that, hey, compounding and putting your money in the market and letting it grow for you really works.
Oh, yeah.
So definitely a good teaching moment. Low-cost investing, long-term wealth building tool for kids. I think this overall we'll see how it works. I think a lot of people are intrigued by it.
Yeah, I think it's something that we should take advantage of because it's kind of low risk, right? You're getting a free $1,000, so all you have to do is sign up. I would recommend everybody who meets those requirements, January 1st, 2025 through December 31st, 2028, to take advantage of it. Sign up, see how it works, and then we could always add more contributions later on as we continue down that path. But take advantage of signing up. It's an opportunity to, to help your children or grandchildren.
Yeah, definitely. If you have any questions on it, we'll have the link in the show notes. And, our accountants are very familiar with the form. And really, it's very simple to go online and sign up for that. So if you do have any questions, let us know. We're here to help.
Thank you.